Well, hey everybody, hope your week again is going so far so good. I have to say, as we approach March, I don't know if it's been on your mind or not, but thinking back to a year ago March, that's what kicks into me as we think back at how life started changing a lot with the coronavirus. We were on vacation at the beginning of March, and by the time we got home, stores were out of toilet paper, all that kind of stuff. And I remember some of the things back in the moment, right? And how the changes were happening fairly quickly. But I don't think I would have ever imagined anything to where we're at today, what the past year has been like as we just reached a really dreadful milestone of 500,000 deaths in the United States, somewhat associated at least with the coronavirus, the COVID-19. And that's a big deal. That's a lot of lives that have been lost. A lot of people who have lost family members. People watching this video are know somebody potentially, probably even, who have lost their lives due to this. And so we've been through a lot. Thank God He's been with us through all of this, but yet it should bring us a level of sadness, a level of hurt as we remember. As we think about the sacrifices that have been made by healthcare workers. Thank you if you're one of them watching today. It's been a hard year. And I just want to acknowledge that as we get close to March here as you watch this video. Today, what I do want to talk about during our time together is a connection that we've been making as we work through the book of Hebrews on Sunday mornings. And hopefully you guys have put some time into the memory verses that I've been encouraging you with these past 2 weeks from Hebrews 11:1 and 11:6. And then I even gave you that reading assignment. If you remember from Sunday, hopefully you've read chapter 11 by now as we look at the faith chapter. That's going to be a great thing for you to do. If you haven't, please do. Please read it, because this Sunday, Rick is going to turn the page to chapter 12. Another great passage there at the beginning of chapter 12 as we consider all that he just showed us, the writer just showed us about faith. Therefore, a big moment coming there at the start of chapter 12. So looking forward to that. What I want to talk about within that is we've been working Hebrews for the Sunday mornings, and at the same time, our youth group, Fusion, has been working through the book of Galatians. And it's interesting to see how connected these two books and the theology and some of the things that are happening in there are. And so what I've been talking to with students is kind of some of the same things we've been talking about on Sunday mornings. And specifically about this conviction of the writers of both of those, of Paul and then of the writer of Hebrews, to encourage the Jews who left Judaism, they left their former faith, not to go back, not just to that religion per se, but to their old ways of doing things. In the book of Galatians, he talks over and over about circumcision, specifically this idea, not necessarily of the circumcision itself, but of going back to life the way it used to be, about their natural tendency to think that it was all about keeping the law that would make them right with God, and the failure of such a thought process, because as Galatians specifically tells us, if you're going to try and keep the law, you're going to have to keep the entire law. And we know that as human beings, we just can't do that. And so the piece that I want to talk about, though, while there's some connections there, is just the connection to faith. That's what we talked about on Sunday and has just been throughout this study of Galatians with students. And I want to share one verse with you today from Galatians 5, verse 5. For through the Spirit we eagerly await by faith the righteousness for which we hope. Ironically, the word that I want to press in on today is not faith, but that last word, hope. You see, when we're talking about hope the way that we do in our culture most often, in our vocabulary, we attach it to things like this. Do you think we'll win the game? I hope so. Or, do you think it'll be sunny tomorrow? Man, I sure hope so. I sure hope that it can be like that, right? Well, the way that we use hope is like I'm not really too sure, but if it goes well, everything will be great. Well, the Bible, when it talks about hope, at least in the original Greek, it's nothing like what I just described, like, I hope so, but a total assurance. Like our hope, our total assurance. Remember what we talked about with faith from Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see, right? It's a different way of looking at hope. When we put our hope in God, it's not I hope this all works out in the end, but an assurance. Like we're putting our whole life on the fact that God is who he says he is, as we await that to be shown more clearly to us. As believers, in the day-to-day, we eagerly await his return. We live our lives knowing with the very fiber of our being that he's coming back, that he is who he says he is. And we also believe, we put our hope in the future that Christ will return. And in the passage there, again, it specifically talks about the hope of, sorry, one second here. We eagerly await by faith the righteousness for which we hope. The righteousness that we are waiting for, our hope is that one day when Christ returns, that we will have a glorification process that happens. Not that we will receive glory, but we will be glorified. We'll be more like Christ at that point, and we'll be welcomed with open arms by God. That's what our hope is in as believers. Not just I hope that God is really real, but with absolute certainty. As much as we can know within ourselves, because we've been empowered by the Holy Spirit, that we can put our hope in God being who he says he is. And that's a lot different than, boy, I sure hope this all works out. Hope you're with me in that. Pun not intended. Good seeing you guys again. Have a great week. Look to see you Sunday.